Okay, so I was asked if I could show how to get the Lagacy male into MayaStar. As per usual, male avatars tend to be a much more of a challenge to get into MayaStar than female avatars. So let's see. Well, the very first thing that you need to do, and this is something I will, if you look in the description, you can copy and paste the little bit of Mel script that I've created to make the job go a lot easier. And so we're going to make a button. The very first thing, we're going to make a button. So on the shelf. So first decide which shelf do you want the button to go to. We could go to, let's go to custom. Okay, so you can see I already have a few buttons up here already. What you want to do is open up your script editor, and that's this little symbol down here, or you can find it up through, I think it's in here somewhere. But you want to go to the script editor and open it up. Okay, and the next thing you want to do is you want to, I have many Mel tabs and Python tabs open. So in a Mel tab, you don't want to be in a Python tab. You want to be in a Mel tab. You want to copy and paste. It will be in the description of this video. Just copy and paste the stuff as you see here. These are for the joint orientations. For some reason, the Lagacy skeleton loses those rotations, and so during the process, don't know why, it just does. And so you want to make a button to make setting these rotations super fast just by one click. Otherwise you have to put them all in there manually, and it's a pain in the butt. So after you've pasted this into a Mel tab, and it has to be a Mel tab, otherwise it won't work, highlight it. You can either just click and go Control A to select it all, but highlight it all, and then come here to File, Save Script to Shelf, and name it whatever you want to make it. Name it. I'll just name this JO, and then Joint Orientations, and then hit Enter or click OK. And you see a new button has been formed up here. It doesn't show you the whole name, so JO, and then if you really want to find out the name, you can right mouse click on it and go into Edit, and it should tell you the whole name somewhere. But you can see this is the script that we just pasted in. Okay. So that will set those joint orientations when you just click this button right here. So that will help you out. Otherwise you have to go in and set all of these manually. So I've just saved you about 5 minutes worth of work, 5-10 minutes worth of work. Okay. So we need to import the Lagacy. So you can either do that through tearing off the dev kit and going to import. But we're going to be importing in FBX. And it doesn't really matter if you click Import FBX or Import DAE. It's going to open up the same window. And then here's the Lagacy. I'm going to import it. Okay. Okay, now the first thing I always do is I always select the mesh and detach the skin to see if it changes shape. If it changes shape, that means that's either that's not the correct bone positions that this was originally rigged to, and so therefore it's no good, or it means they exported it out of Blender using MayaStar and they had some slider settings set, and so they messed up when they exported out the DAE out of MayaStar, out of Blender using MayaStar. But it's always good to check. So what I'm going to do is zoom in pretty close and see if it, when I detach the skin, if it changes shape. And it didn't. It didn't change shape, and it is really not rigged. Close this, because we don't see any skin cluster. Okay, so the next thing I would do is I would either export this out as an OBJ, or you can copy it to your clipboard. I'm going to copy it to my clipboard because it's just faster. Okay, So I copied it to the clipboard, and now I can paste it back in unrigged, and we can compare. So now I'm going to just Control Z to get the skin cluster back. Now it's connected back to the skeleton. Okay, and what you can do then is you can then just Control V to paste it, and it'll bring in this pasted so they are on two separate things. This is the one that's not rigged. As you can see, there's no skin cluster. And I'm going to hold down the right mouse button and existing material, Lambert. So it's just a different color. It'll be much easier to see. And now when I show both of them, you get this nice flickering. And that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see a nice, even flickering pattern over the whole thing. So now you have the gray one, which will be your standard as to is everything still in the proper position. Okay, the next thing I like to do is I'm going to ungroup these things. Like this is a mesh. I'm going to click on it, hold down the middle mouse button and drag it down just to get it out of that group. And show this one. Oh no, I'm sorry. Let me Control Z back. Okay, this one is okay. You can name this duplicate if you want. Okay. This one is, let me hide the gray one. There we go. This one is the one that's rigged. Just so it's easier to see and follow, I'm going to ungroup it there. Or I wonder if I could just go Edit Ungroup. Now I'll do it the old-fashioned way. Just middle drag it down, and then I want to get this out of the group as well. Drag it down, ungroup it, and then just delete that. I could have probably ungrouped it by going Edit Ungroup, but whichever way works for you. Okay, so we've ungrouped it, and we still have that. I think it's whichever one was shown last. Well, sometimes it's gray, it's tan with gray spots, and sometimes it's gray with tan spots. Doesn't matter. They're both even. Okay, evenly spread out. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is check for animations. You know, so if you click on the PELVIS and select hierarchy, there we go. We see a bunch of set keys, you know, keyframes. And in fact, if you put this to 0 and this to 0, there's actually a keyframe on frame 0. Okay, so you could either go through, click each one, and right mouse click and click delete, or a better way of doing it, because I found that if you did that, it might go into a different pose, and it might stay in that different pose. So the better way, faster way of deleting those keyframes, and I just figured that out today, is to go Display, turn off DAGs only, and you see all these, they're called animation curves. If you select the first one, then scroll down to where you get down to the bottom one. These are animation curves. There's the bottom animation curves. Hold down the Shift key. Hold down the Shift key. It will select all the animation curves in between. And then just hit the Delete key on your keyboard. And now if we come here, select hierarchy, there are no animations. So that's a faster way of deleting them instead of deleting them each one at a time, especially if there's a whole bunch of them. You know, a couple of keyframes, 4 or 5, is not that big of a deal to delete manually, but when you got more than that, it's easier and faster. And because I deleted them all manually and the avatar slightly moved, and even when I went back to the bind pose, it still wasn't in this particular position perfectly. So this way is faster and easier. Okay, so next thing we want to do is want to turn on DAGs only object again, just to make this easier, less crowded. Okay, so we've got that set. Okay, the next thing you want to do is you want to MayaStar skin weight tools for earlier version, or not for skin weight tools, custom bind pose, create bind pose, just to be on the safe side. Okay, now we're ready because this avatar is small and is pointing the correct way. You know, it's pointing towards X, and the arms are on the Y-axis for left and right, and Z is up. So everything is fine. Everything is fine. Do not run DevKit Prepper. Go ahead and go MayaStarizer, Mail Bento, and MayaStarize. Okay, now what we're seeing is you're seeing a difference between them, so we know something's wrong. And what's wrong is those joint orientations. So if you made your button with the one click, boom, it's back to normal in the front and everything looks great. Everything looks awesome. But then you come back here to the back and you're going, uh-oh, something's going on here. Okay, so we see it's down near the lower back. It just turns out sometimes it's really good to have two files open at the same time. So let me pause this real quick. Okay, so I'm going to go over. I opened up a second instance of Maya and I imported the file, the FBX, and I haven't done anything to it. And so I'm going to switch over to that, and here it is. So we know that there's a problem somewhere in the back. It could be the probably isn't the M torso, but joint, because then the front of the avatar would be messed up. Because it's the lower back here, it's most likely the lower back. So if we expand, to expand this all at once, just hold down the Shift key and hit the little plus sign. If you don't, it sometimes won't expand the whole thing. But for some reason it is now. It's weird. Usually you have to hold down the Shift key to expand it all at once. Okay, so it's most likely this lower back. I don't think it's the belly, because the front of the avatar would be messed up. I don't think it's any of the spines, but we can check them. So what you want to do is you want to look for, a difference. And the best place to look is in the attribute editor, because that attribute editor is going to show you the translate, the rotations, and the scales. But it's also going to show you this is the joint orientations, and it's going to show you everything that you need to know. So I'm going to go over to the other one that was just imported. And what you want to do is I have it, okay, you kind of, like I said, since I suspect it's the lower back, if you you want to see if there's a difference. So you can start up here with the translate. So you can flip back and forth between the two by holding down the Alt key and the Tab key. That's the old school way of flipping between programs. Lets you to flip back and forth real quick. So what you want to do is you want to look at the translate, and it's 0017. 0023. That's interesting. And then you have 000, 000, 90, 130, 150. 090, 130, 150. Okay. You have inherit transforms is on 000, XYZ, and then you can just keep going through. Everything looks fine until we get to segment scale compensate. So if we turn that off like it is in the original, all of a sudden it looks fine. Okay. And what happens if we change this translate to 17? Nope, you want it at 23. Okay, definitely you want it at 2.3 because you want that flickering. But like I said, so the first thing I would have done is when this was on was I saw 17. If we put 17 in, helps a little bit, but it doesn't fix it. So 0.023, and then that's when I tried this, and boom, it's perfect. Now the translate should be the same, you would think. So let's try the M torso. Let's look at the M torso. Go back and forth. See, the M torso doesn't have compensate on it there, so we turn that off. Everything looks fine. Let's go to the lower back now. And that changed the... Okay, this is 23. When we turned off the compensate, now let's change this. This says 23 for the lower back. Now let's change this to 23. It's going to be way off. Oh, that's because I still have it on the M torso. Duh. Sorry. Let's go. See, now that's off. Okay, so let's look at this again. M torso, 84. M torso with that off is 23. So we turn that off. M torso. $23. And then the upper back, or no, upper, no, I don't want upper back. No, what I kept name. It's lower back. Kept looking at the wrong one. Okay, let me get this back to where it was. Okay, M torso 84. M torso 84. Lower back 23. Lower back 23. Segment off, segment off. I was just looking at the wrong one. Torso and torso 84, 84. Okay, so it is the same. Okay, so now everything's the same as the original. I was just looking at the wrong one. Lower back. Okay. You were probably screaming at the monitor. You've picked the upper back. It's the lower back, idiot. So upper back. Upper back. That's not turned on. Let's turn that off as well. And there. So that's what you want to see. So you want to have everything be the same. And that's what we have here. So it was the upper back or the lower back that we had the problem that we had to turn off the scale segment, compensate. And that's 23, and then lower back 23. So it was the same exact translation. I had just accidentally clicked on upper back. I saw back and I just clicked on it. And so you want to make sure they're the same. Okay, so now that we have them the same, I would then MayaStar, skin weight tools, create bind pose just to be on the safe side. Okay, so we got everything in there. Everything's flickering just fine the way it should. And now if we go straight to MayaStarizer, don't do DevKit Prepper, do MayaStarizer Mail Bento. We didn't do that already, did we? Oh, we already did do that. We already did do that. Oh, whew. Good thing I didn't do it a second time. No, we've already done that. Once we changed those, we did the create custom bind pose, and now the avatar appearance editors sliders should all work. So they're working. Animations are working. You can go to pectorals. So everything is working. Reset skeleton, that's the neutral bone shapes, not the... So if you want, you go size, bind pose. So you want to rig your avatar, your clothing, to the avatar in this position. And then just go File, Save. And you can then delete this one if you want, or you can always just keep it there just for reference if you really want to. So awesome. So that's how you bring in the Lagacy avatar. So that was kind of good in that, like I said, if you still see stuff that's wrong, you kind of got to play a little bit of detective. You know, open up the original one that you've not messed with, do just the DAE or the FBX, and start looking for differences in the skeleton between the two. And you might find something set that shouldn't be set, and then you can click on it, because it has to be the way they have their skeleton. You know, it has to be the way they have their skeleton. So when they did the rigging, so whatever they were using, you have to use. And so it might be slightly different than MayaStar, such as that one little setting in the segment. They had different, or MayaStar had different than they did. So awesome. So that's it for this video. I hope you find it useful, and we'll see you in the next video.